Welcome to the special edition of Investor Ideas podcast with a spotlight on the cannabis sector. Recently attending the ArcView Investor Forum at the Westin Bayshore in Vancouver, BC, we got to interview some of the most influential thought leaders in the sector. Over the next coming week, tune in to hear guests such as Troy Dayton from ArcView, Sean McCabe from Electrum Partners, and Mike Gorenstein from the first publicly traded NASDAQ cannabis company. And many more, including an exclusive interview with the startup winner from the forum. You will hear thoughts on emerging markets, key data from the US and Canada, and how tech plays a role in the cannabis sector and what it takes to become a success in this industry. Today on our podcast, we have Andrew Duffy, CEO and founder of Best & Grow. Best & Grow just won Arc Tank Sessions Best Pitch Prize at the ArcView Investor Forum in Vancouver. Welcome to our podcast, and great meeting you both at ArcView Investor Forum and especially the MGIC after party in Vancouver.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having us.
For our listeners that don't know Best & Grow, can you give us the background story on how you both started the company and what your mission is?
Sure. So Jake, my co-founder, and I became fast friends when we met in our sophomore year at Harvard University, where I was studying behavioral economics and Jake was studying public policy and social psychology. We graduated in 2016, and as most wayward Harvard students do, we ended up in the finance world. I was at a big hedge fund. Jake was in private equity. We got tired of that pretty quickly, so we decided to move out to Colorado and get into the nascent cannabis space for all the opportunities that it offered and the incredible growth that we were seeing in it. So we started up Best & Grow, which is a company with the pretty simple mission of helping cannabis brands make better products and helping cannabis dispensaries pick the right products to sell. And we do that by aggregating feedback from industry stakeholders, most importantly, bud tenders, point of sale, retail employees who have the most influence of anybody over what cannabis products get purchased and have the most experience of anybody in consuming cannabis products and recommending them to people. So we really value their feedback, and we use that to help dispensaries and brands do a better job and improve their operations.
Fantastic. So you just won the Arc Tank Sessions Best Pitch Prize at the ArcView Investor Forum. For our listeners looking for some background, why is that such a prestigious award for a new cannabis company? The notes are as follows. The ArcView Group is responsible for a number of groundbreaking ventures in the cannabis industry. ArcView Market Research is one of the first and most off-cited publishers of market research on the cannabis industry. ArcView is headed by some of the most top influential figures in American cannabis community. Troy Dayton, the organization's CEO, is a founding member of some of the U.S.'s most influential activist groups. Steve D'Angelo, CEO of California's most renowned dispensary, Harborside Health Center, and both were named by Fortune magazine as being in the top 7 most powerful people in the U.S. cannabis industry. That must have been a little bit intense going on that stage to pitch in front of them.
Absolutely, yeah, it was pretty scary.
What does this mean for Best & Grow, and how did it feel winning this award?
Well, thematically, it's just another indicator for us that this is a real problem that we're solving and that we're solving it in a good way. Practically, it's obviously a huge boost for us in publicity. We're doing podcasts now, which is great, and particularly with investors and potential business partners. Our phones have been ringing off the hook since the win, and that's a pretty great feeling given that we've been working so long on this in relative obscurity to build something that we knew would be an industry game changer, and now it seems like a lot of other people are coming around to that. So it feels great. It's really validating of the amount of hard work that we've put in and has really made us thankful for all the support that we've received from not only the Canopy Boulder Accelerator, which we're about to graduate from, but also our advisors, our existing investors, and our families for supporting us so much.
So a lot of the speakers and panels were talking about the cannabis industry developing brands, almost like a craft beer, as it becomes more and more acceptable as a consumer product. What are your thoughts on this as the industry evolves? How does Best & Grow's technology really help companies build their brand?
So, yeah, I'd point to the industry as a better parallel with natural foods even than beer or wine. I think that, 20 years ago we saw natural foods as a big bulk discount store type of option where you'd see large amounts of agricultural products in big bins and you'd scoop some out and take it home. Whereas now, if you walk into Whole Foods, everything is a branded product. They're extremely well branded, extremely well marketed, and they're developed over an extremely long amount of time to be exactly what their customers desire. And I think that that progression is what we're going to see in cannabis. But the companies that are going to survive and that are going to be successful are the ones that are using data. They're able to differentiate themselves from the literally thousands of other cannabis brands that are popping up trying to get a piece of the green rush. And if they can really use data effectively to figure out what their consumers want and how their consumers are actually consuming this cannabis, then they can develop the best products, they can market those products more effectively, and then they can sell them more efficiently. So Best and Grow is really tasked with doing just that. We help brands to gather feedback from their most important influencers, the bud tenders, as well as consumers, to figure out how they should be developing their products to save them time and frustration and money in that product development process, as well as help them figure out how they should be marketing those products and how they can get them into the right people's hands. And dispensaries have the same problem. They have to curate their merchandise. They have to choose from thousands of different product SKUs to pick what goes on limited shelf space, and making sure that your dispensary has the best products and is the place where people go to get the most reliable information and the most reliable, consistent cannabis is really, really important to differentiate those dispensaries. So Best and Grow helps them to aggregate feedback and aggregate information about that to inform their operations going forward. So building brands is really all going to be about taking that information and incorporating it into your brand and making sure your brand is directed at exactly the people you want it to be.
That's great. That's a great example, using Whole Foods, considering, they're probably one of the best companies out there that was taken over by Amazon.
Yeah.
So how can investors or a cannabis company like a dispensary or a brand participate with Best and Grow at this stage? And also, how can someone become part of the Best and Grow community as a member?
Absolutely. So in terms of investors, accredited investors only, we're currently raising our first funding round after leading the Canopy Boulder Accelerator, so I'm always happy to talk to investors. In terms of companies, any cannabis brand or dispensary that wants to be a part of our system can reach out to us. We're expanding into multiple states now, and we're onboarding dispensaries and brands onto our version 2 platform. So we're happy to have anyone reach out to us, and we'd love to be helpful to you all across the U.S. and even across the world if anyone international is listening from Canada. And in terms of becoming part of the Best and Grow community as a member, so we're currently working specifically with bud tenders. We target bud tenders and other professional cannabis employees, but we love to get feedback from consumers as well. So when we launch our application in the Android and iOS store in about 6 weeks, they'll be able to log on as well and start providing feedback to their favorite brands.
Wow, that's great. So right now you're just in the U.S. Are you planning to expand into Canada and some of the other emerging markets?
Yeah, absolutely. We see that as a huge point of value for us, is that we're incredibly scalable. We can move into a new market as fast as the snap of a finger. So it's not particularly difficult for us to move into those markets, but those markets offer us an incredible opportunity to get even more valuable data about what products people like to consume and how we can help brands in those spaces make the best products. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see the Canadian market, which from a product sophistication perspective is a little bit behind the U.S. market. They have less differentiation of products and they have less thoroughly developed products. To see them be able to take some of the data that we've gathered from the U.S. and translate it into the Canadian market to start developing products more quickly and getting them to market more effectively will be really interesting. So we're partnering with a couple of Canadian companies already, especially a few that we met during our trip up to Vancouver. So we're really excited to expand into those international markets.
Very exciting. I will look forward to seeing your data and your technology being used out here in Vancouver then.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope to go back there. It's absolutely beautiful.
Definitely good to visit in the summer. Final question. As a young entrepreneur in an evolving sector, what's your favorite part about being in the cannabis space so far, and what are you most looking forward to in the future?
I absolutely love how cooperative everyone is in cannabis. Everyone realizes that this is an exploding market and is a place where a lot of different companies can succeed. So even direct competitors are often the best cooperators in the cannabis market. And I think that has to do with how small the market is already and how much of almost a trusted inner circle there is amongst people who have entered the market at this stage or prior, because there are people who really care about the cannabis market. They really care about expanding access to cannabis and reducing stigmatization to improve the ways that cannabis can help people all around the world as quickly as possible. So I really love how engaged everyone in the cannabis industry is with that mission. And as a result, it's not hyper-competitive on a personal level. It's any entrepreneur is willing to give advice to other entrepreneurs. We've received mentorship from an incredible group of people who, some of them might even be considered direct competitors of our platform. So moving from a place like finance, the hedge fund world, where everything is harshly competitive, and for one group to succeed, another group definitionally has to fail. Coming into cannabis and knowing that we can succeed alongside everyone else around us and creating partnerships and cooperation has been really, really encouraging. It's just been a great environment to come up in. In terms of what we're looking forward to, we're so excited about seeing the future of cannabis from a legislative perspective. There's been a lot of exciting developments both in Canada and in the U.S. about legalization going forward on a federal level. So we're really excited to see that happen and see some of the stigmatization that we've seen in the past reduced, as well as see some of the burdens that cannabis companies are laboring under right now, like the 280E tax restriction, as well as, state-by-state delivery restrictions and the ability to cross state lines with products. Would be really, really great to see those eliminated, as well as to see the social impacts, because cannabis prohibition obviously has been a horrible impact on so many people around the world, particularly existing disadvantaged communities, minority communities that have had people taken away from them, have had lives taken away from them just because of consuming a particular plant. So really excited to see some amnesty for people that have suffered under that prohibition, and to see that nobody in the future will ever be convicted as a result.
That is a fantastic answer to end the podcast. So for any investors or dispensaries or consumer brands, what is your website and how can they reach out to you and Jacob?
Yeah, you can reach us at bestingrow.co is our website. You can contact us through that, or you can shoot me an email directly at andrew@thebigstamp.com. And feel free to give me a call at the information that's listed on the website as well.
And you're both on LinkedIn, so people can join you on there?
Absolutely. Love connecting on LinkedIn. It's the new Facebook. Spread it around.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for a fantastic podcast, Andrew. I have to say thank you to ArcView and MGIC for throwing an amazing forum and an even better after party. Hopefully we've all recovered from that. So
just barely.
InvestorIdeas.com reminds all listeners to read our disclaimers and disclosures on the InvestorIdeas.com website. All investment involves risk, and this podcast is not meant to be an endorsement to buy or sell securities or products. To hear more podcasts, you can go to www.investorideas.com/audio. And a reminder, you can also hear our podcasts on iTunes, Google Play Music, iHeart.com, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spreaker, and SoundCloud.